Good afternoon. Welcome, all of you. We are welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here, for joining us. Just in a few seconds, we are going to start. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good night, maybe, if you are today all over the world. So we are welcome, all of you. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Maria del Pilar Leal. I'm the coordinator and director of the master's programs at CETT Barcelona School of Tourism, Hospitality and Gastronomy. For us, it's a really a pleasure for organizing the first roundtable entitled Tourism and LGTB Community and Educational Perspective. We are very proud for organizing today. We're very proud for welcoming you. We hope that this afternoon, during this hour, we have the time for reflect, but also for proposing new perspectives in this relation between tourism and LGTB community. We are also very proud for having the first master worldwide regarding and that trying to tackle this topic regarding tourism and LGTB community. Also, we would like to thank you, our guest speakers, for having the time this hour today for let us know and share with us, let's say, their thoughts, experiences, and let's provoke a fruitful debate throughout the session. Also, thank you to our moderator, which is Nuria Bejan. She's going to join us and lead this hour that we are going to spend together. So Nuria is part of our team. Is part of our master degree team, but also she's going to lead because she's behind all of this concept that we have created for this new master program. So for us, it's a pleasure. I really hope that during this afternoon and this hour, especially, let's have a fruitful conversation, as I said before. If you have any questions, please use the chat. But also we have to warn, let's say that we expect that we have all of the proper, let's say, messages or questions. But if in the case, just in the case that we hope not, but let's say that just in the case we have inappropriate comments, so this person is going to be expelled from our meeting, since our chat is free and is open for all of you. So thank you so much. And with these few words, let's say we start and opening this first roundtable in tourism and LGTB community and educational perspective.
Great. Well, let's go then. Thank you, Dr. Leal. I'm really happy to see so many familiar faces, so many familiar names, even this. It's one of the good things COVID had, that we can all meet through online. I see new people that I hope are going to be for us collaborators in some ways. So I would like to thank you again, all of you, for being here today. I think that we are doing something that might be important, starting to talk about this fusion, what happens when we talk about the LGBT community and tourism. Many of you here, and now that's why we've invited you, because you are the experts and we want to hear your voice, but you've been working on this for a long time. So this is kind of why you're here and why we're really pleased to have you here too. As Pilar said just a minute ago, this roundtable is, we aim for it to be a space for dialogue. We think that it's necessary to think about what we're doing, to think about where we're going. And from our university, the University CETT, School of Tourism, Hospitality and Gastronomy, that's in Barcelona and online because now we're everywhere, we have detected this need, which is, we're not the only ones. Many of us have already seen that, but it is very interesting to see that if both from administrations and from private companies, there's this growing interest to see what is going on with LGBT tourism, what does this traveler need, how can we provide these services to them. So what we believe is that education should be the backbone for this. We should be in front. We should provide this scientific knowledge, and we should provide this social, maybe sometimes social network that we already know reality, what's happening, but we need to put it in words and we need to work on this. This needs to be our solid basis. And so this is what we're trying to do. From that, we are aware of the new challenges that tourism has. Maybe we don't even know what we're going to face now because of COVID and how the situation is going to change, but we do know that LGBT tourism is important. We do know that we're here, we're queer, we've been here a long time, right? So now this is our space, and we need to think how we want to direct this new way. From that, we've been training in tourism for 50 years. We have a bit of a training culture already, and this is what we aim to do with this master's that we're launching this year, the master's in LGBT tourism, that we of course invite you to check on our website. And we think that the important thing is to promote these good practices, and that's why we are holding this roundtable today. This master's counts with the support of the Barcelona City Council, and what we want with it is for future students to lead the change. That we know there needs to be a change, or at least some changes, so we want them to lead the change. We need professionals that are in charge, and we want to provide them with this up-to-date and specialized knowledge to manage more inclusive and more safe destinations. So with this in mind, it's my greatest pleasure to now introduce you to our participants. Thank you, all of you, again for being here. We have with us Mr. Mateo Asensio. Thank you so much, Mateo, for being here. He's the head of promotional. Good afternoon. He's the head of promotional actions in Barcelona Tourism. He has over 20 years of experience dedicated to the organization and promotion of conventions and incentives. He has been a representative for Barcelona in fairs, workshops. He will continue to do so. And he's also the head of the LGBTI segment in Barcelona Tourism and a proactive member of IGLTA. Thank you, Mateo, for being here.
Thanks a lot.
We also have, and I really hope I'm doing this well, Margie Hansen and Roxanne Wager. Hello, I'm sure that was not the pronunciation.
Pretty good, but Marge's name is always difficult to pronounce everywhere in the world. But yeah, you want to say it?
Yeah, so my name is Margie Hansen, yeah.
Great, thank you, and sorry, I will learn it. I will learn the right way to do it. Thank you so much for being here, both of you too. Margie and Roxanne we know you as Once Upon a Journey. You're Dutch, and since you're a couple, and since 2017, if I'm not mistaken, you started traveling full-time around the world. Now you've been sharing your experiences as lesbian travelers with us, and you are very active in saying that the LGBT community is a whole, but at the same time, each segment needs a specific something. And this is why you do what you do. And we're really, thank you for what you do, and thank you for being here too.
Thank you for having us.
And we also have Uriol Bamias. Thank you, Uriol, for being here. He's the CEO of Queer Destinations, which is a platform that aims at creating more secure and diverse destinations for LGBTIQ travelers, with trainings in businesses, trainings in the public administrations. And he's also an active member of the IGLTA Association and a renowned writer. So thank you so much for being here today talking, not writing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And we couldn't count with their presence today here in person, but we do have the support of Mrs. Natalia Bayona. She's the Director for Innovation, Education, and Investments at UNWTO. And although she could not be here with us today, she did want to present something to this roundtable and give their support. And that's why she recorded a video. And I think, David, if we're able to see it.
It's my pleasure to be here today to celebrate diversity, inclusion, and of course, LGBT month and the Pride Month, that of course, for those that are working in tourism is part of our mandate. As you know, the UNWTO is really focused on empowerment, but of course on gender equality, on human rights, and of course promoting LGBT tourism is part of creating that path that cities and destinations need in order to promote themselves as democratic, equalitarian, and of course, full of diversity. Today, I have to say that institutions play a strong role when it comes to diversity and inclusion. And of course, developing reports is the first, but not the last point in order to include this important segment of travelers. UNWTO has created 2 reports in the past focused in LGBT tourism because, of course, the profile is really different. I have to say that having diversity is part of the mandate of the more mature destinations because, of course, the LGBT segment loves not only to have an amazing experience in the different regions or destinations where they go. They love added value, unique experiences, luxury, and of course, they love the way to pay back to society. I have to say that 33% of LGBT tourism or tourists realize that they don't feel, they feel some differences when they come to different destinations. Of course, in Europe, it's really easy for them to come because the LGBT parades, the traffic light signs, everything related about the laws in terms of diversity and inclusion help them to know that here in Spain, like cities as Madrid, Barcelona, San Sebastian, among others, or in other European cities, of course, they're free to travel and they are free, of course, to do what they desire to do. Nonetheless, we have a challenge in other regions where we need the power of bringing inclusivity, of bringing different empowerments in order to foster and to gain the engagement of this segment or target of tourists that, as you know, they are added value to love added value tourism. And I have to say that in the past, when I used to work in marketing and destination management in my home country, Colombia, I had to say that when we were promoting LGBT, we had different stands in Fitur LGBT, for example. We did a lot of conferences in all the European trade shows in order to aware about the different tourism packages that we were offering in different destinations, full of history, of culture, of course, full of diversity, sun, beaches, etc. Normally speaking, people will think that LGBT tourism is only about gay rights, and of course, that's not part of the whole tourism opportunity that we have with LGBT. I have to say that LGBT is a strong segment, and you can find, of course, people from all around the world, from all ages, that of course wants to promote, wants to experience different things as flying around the destination, going and do bird watching, developing and going to the different UNESCO hotspots, among others. And why not giving back to the society by giving donations or by donating their time through community tourism. The thing is that when you are talking about LGBT segment, what we need to do, and is really important, is of course to target on the type of travelers that we want, and of course to be, as in other segments, when it comes to bird watching or to adventure tourism, all the destinations are inside the newspapers, the magazines, the blogs, the international and digital marketing, super hyper focused, of course, on nature and adventure. This is the same, and it's the same case with LGBT destinations. Needs to do more, to be more proactive, to talk a little bit on those LGBT top newspapers, top magazines, blogs, where they can feel that those destinations have something special for them, that is memorable, and that of course is full of unique experiences, memorable experiences, where diversity, inclusivity, and of course happiness in the most human economic sector, that is tourism, is more than welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this. Of course, we will thank Ms. Bayano when we have the chance to talk to her in person. We do have the presence of other people that might get a chance to maybe share their experiences with us after the questions. For example, Ms. Yaya Pedemonte, if you would like to later on share your experiences, that would be great. But for now, I think that we should get started with what we're here to do, which is listen to you experts. So if that's all right, I'm just gonna go ahead and ask some questions, and then we can have a bit of, or you can have a bit of debate and see where it leads us. So I would like to start with Mr. Asensio. We wanted to know, as when we think about LGBT tourism and future challenges that might appear, how do you think tourism studies promote opening new aspects of LGBT tourism, such as historical memory, legacy, or the inclusion of new, or not new, but marginalized identities, the creation of safe spaces, etc.?
Well, first of all, thank you to the CETT, just in order to make this great opportunity. I mean, I just would like to tell you that I was born in 1973 in Barcelona. So I came from a great period. So I was not, born in Alice in Wonderland. So I think that it was not really like that. So Barcelona was a great city. So I mean, and a lot of human rights was destroyed in the previous years. A lot of people, they start to work, not in my age, of course. So I mean, they start to work in the 70s, in the 80s, just in order to promote and to educate, try to educate the community. This one makes that, for example, we are arriving to the 90s, and in the 90s, Barcelona was open to the world. Remember the Olympic Games, so everyone was start to meet and to know what about this wonderful capital of the Mediterranean Sea offers to us. So in that case, I mean, this one was a great period just in order to start to work and to, as my colleague said, I think that the most important thing is that the visitors of a city feel simply comfortable. It's not only a thing about just words, everyone, we can talk about all the words and everything, but behind the words needs to have facts. And today we are presenting a fact. So as something special that leaves a legacy for a city. So Barcelona, even to promote, is perfect. I mean, we are on all the channels of international promotion in terms of LGBTI, but we really need facts. And the facts is when a visitor landing in Barcelona, go to his hotel, stay in Barcelona in a free way, with a great flavor, with a very comfortable way. So when they feeling that it's really free. So like maybe it's not in some other cities, unfortunately, during these days. And actually, this is like, for me, today is a really important day because we are having in front of our faces the possibility to educate the people, to educate this society that was born a little bit in Alice in Wonderland in some of my cases, so in my country, because of course in some other countries there are a lot of work to do and more right now, you know. But it's important to know that, for example, that we have generations that they don't know about the past, you know, so they really need to feel more comfortable and to study and to prepare in their universities, just in order to how to make more comfortable, more easy the life of the visitors that arrive to their cities. So I think that this is a great initiative. So I mean, in the tourism board, we really have the opportunity to check that the tourism industry was transformed, was in a huge process of transformation, like we were talking and discussed a few minutes ago with the rest of the speakers, and talking about that, for example, okay, we have, for example, the opportunity to promote the LGBT tourism in New York, in some of the cities, but right now we have the opportunity to transform. Most of our actions were transforming to make the possibility that our industry learn more about how became the people more comfortable when they're receiving our visitors. And this one is our goal. So I mean, in most of the cases, the tourism board organized summits where the summit is educated, not only just when we are talking about LGBTI, a lot of people is thinking only about, okay, the gays, the lesbians. No, we need to offer possibility to the transsexuals, to some other parts of the community to be part of us. Because at the end, we are talking about human rights. We are not talking about my freedom. We are talking about that when I am going with my couple or we are visiting with my family, I can go to a city and I can practice everything, my religion, my, you know, everything. So that's important. So I think that this possibility of these studies will make that the people growing with another, you know, a key that I didn't have in my time. So I didn't have this opportunity, but they are lucky to really, you know, study this type of, you know, things to make the world better. So I think that we have a very good opportunity. And in the tourism board right now here, it's welcome to diversity. This is my city. That's where I'm living. Barcelona is really the capital of the Mediterranean, where everyone is feeling comfortable. And this is very important. So I think in my case, well, this one was my last small speech, but just in order to tell you, to share with you that thank you, because in front of us we have a great opportunity to really educate the industry. And if we educate the industry, not only the community, when I'm talking about the community, I'm saying the whole population. So LGBTI is more than only just one letters, capital letters. We need more things about that. So this is I don't know, my touch from Barcelona.
Thank you so much, Mateo.
Sorry for my passion, eh? Sorry about that.
No, thank you. Thank you. That's why I'm inviting you. No, thank you so much for your words. I think that you're really right when we think about both the community and tourism. Both are really transversal. So trying to establish rigid lines that will separate one from the other doesn't really make sense, and many things come into play here. That's why I also think that having here Once Upon a Journey as basically expert travelers is a really great way of understanding what we need to do. So that's why I wanted to ask you too, as travelers, what needs do you identify? As being part of the LGBT community, especially being lesbian, being part of the lesbian and the bisexual community, what are the specific needs that you identify? How relevant are they to choosing a destination? Are your needs met? Are they not? What aspects do you think the tourism studies should really point fingers on and try to develop further, or maybe change their perspective?
So I think for us as travelers, as female travelers, that's also another thing that comes in place. If we travel to a place, we look up how safe it is for us to travel there, also as women, but also as a couple. There are multiple things, like the LGBT community, it is a community, but they're also each person in the community and each letter needs something different. Like safety for us is different than safety for a person of color. Safety for us is different than it is for a male couple. For transgender people, it's different. For non-binary people, it's different. Like in the Netherlands, there are people with an X in their passport. That brings another issue with it. Like, if you travel somewhere, will they accept your passport? So I think if we travel, it's also about us as women. Like, will we be safe as women? And then we look up the LGBT laws of the country, so we know like what is legal, what is not legal. Sometimes there are only laws for homosexual men. Sometimes there are laws about homosexuality in general. So that's something we really have to pay attention to before we travel to a place. But it's also important to know that like laws are not the only thing determining how we will feel in a country. There's of course laws, and then there are people, and people and the laws are not the same thing. What people believe and what the law is not the same thing. So then we do our research, how people will react, like what is the public opinion like? How did other travelers feel? There's also a big difference between being a tourist and being a local in a place. Usually as a tourist, you're often a bit safer because other laws will apply to you, and you will also bring money to a country, which will make you be a bit more safe. But that's of course also a bit sad sometimes, because you also don't always want to travel to a country where the locals do not have the same rights that you have. So it's a complicated issue, and there are definitely many things we pay attention to if we travel to a place, and many things that are important to us. And I think it's really great if people in the tourism industry are more educated about all these issues that that are in our minds, but that like other people don't even think about it. Like even friends of ours don't always think about it. Like if we're in a hotel and we booked a double bed, and they are like, "Oh, do you want separate beds?" Like so that's something our friends.
Just small things that can make a whole difference.
Yeah, or are you sisters or something? It's always a bit of an awkward question. But so there are small things, and then there are big things, and I think there will be a lot of things.
No, definitely. I think that you're totally right. As a traveler, not an expert traveler, but as a traveler, I do really relate to what you're saying. And I think that just here in this last part that you were saying about the little things, the big things, I think that Uriol can really help us out, because from Queer Destinations, you are really working on this area, the role of institutions, the role of businesses in welcoming tourists. So I would like to ask you in this sense, what is first of all your work, what is it that you're doing, and how does it work, and the need that you have to do this, and also what is the process of researching to travel, as now you were also saying, to travel to an LGBT for an LGBT traveler. Does it take longer? Because all of the things, the laws, the social realities, so that we have to take many things into account. So what would make this process easier, which is also a question that could go back to Once Upon a Journey, and to see if they could complement it.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having us. I think this space is great. I think that this is the beginning of an awesome journey that will become, for us, a new wave of talented and passionate people on LGBT tourism. And we're very excited about that. So thanks for the initiative. From Queer Destinations, we are the bridge that connects governments, destinations, and companies with the LGBTQ+ community. And since 2019, we signed an agreement with the Mexican government. We are leading the LGBT strategy nationwide in Mexico. We're now starting in Spain with the Spanish government as a whole, and then also in several destinations in Spain. And before the end of 2021, we will be in Costa Rica and Colombia as well. From that perspective, what I can tell you, and also with the hat as a board member of IGLTA, we always push for numbers. And I believe that the LGBT reports that UNWTO did together with IGLTA and the surveys we did now in the pandemic are the numbers that help us push and convince governments and destinations and companies as well, that this has to be a key part of their strategy. Actually, based on the survey that IGLTA performed on what is the attitude on LGBT travelers throughout the pandemic, we based the whole LGBT tourism recovery strategy of Mexico nationwide on that specific segment. Everyone identified that the LGBTQ+ segment is among the first travelers to start going out again after a pandemic. And what they realize is that they are not ready for it. Destinations are not ready because the private sector is not trained in order to welcome us in the best possible way. The product is not ready, and the strategies, the marketing strategies are not aligned. And we are working internationally with different aspects to make sure that we are catering to be able to have the best possible experience for LGBT travelers. And I think this is important for several reasons. The first one is that LGBT tourism is not around gay men. And this is a misconception that we're pushing all the time. Women, trans and identity and non-binary folks are on the center of our work because they are who they needed the most. And when we're starting, not only with the sensitivity training, but also creating the product and the experiences, product for women cannot be an afterthought of product for men. You cannot say you're an LGBT destination and then only creating product around men. So this is one of the things we're pushing a lot. The second one is security. And even in those countries where there are LGBT laws that protect us, laws only change the constitution, but they don't change people's minds. They don't change people's, the society. So training is a key part and the basis for everything. What we're doing, we are pushing in every destination to train and certify that everyone, all the stakeholders, from the airplane that brings you, the transfer that takes you to the hotel, and all the tours and experiences you're going through are certified and trained as queer destinations. 100% of the employees of any interaction that an LGBT traveler is experiencing has to be trained and certified. And this is our commitment. This is the way that we are working. And it's important to understand that also the UNWTO speaks about around 10% of the LGBT travelers are LGBTQ+, and they're talking about us being the fastest growing segment internationally year by year, expecting by 2030, 180 LGBT travelers annually traveling. But that is taking into consideration that 10%. But there is a study that Gallup released in 2020 that self-identified LGBT folks in the US, for millennials, it's 9.1. But the jump on Gen Z, it goes from 9.1 to 15%, 15.9%, almost 16%. That means that this initiative and the initiative that now governments and destinations and companies all over the world are doing are investing for the future, because not only we have a great acquisition power that will transform in great return on investment on those strategies, it also puts them on the right side of history. And I believe that training and education has to be put in the center of it. And our commitment from IGLTA and at Queer Destinations is basically that. First of all, training, product creation and adaptation of the product, promotion and marketing strategies that cater to all the letters and the intersectionality of the community, putting first women and trans and non-binary folks, and then making sure that we have a whole number of products that are giving LGBT travelers the best possible experience.
Well, that was a wonderful explanation, Uriel. Thank you so much for this. I would like to ask you, since we're all in the same stage, we all seem to believe that tourism studies should be at the center of this. We need professionals, we need training. what exactly, each of you from your own perspectives and from your own background, do you identify that tourism studies need to do? Is it researching what area, in what way? What is the goal of this research? What should we do? Why are we creating these masters? What do you need from this? Any of you?
Who's up?
Well, if you want, I can start. So, I mean, I think that, well, too many things maybe I could ask, you know, like, okay, my letter for Santa. Otherwise, I mean, the thing is that I think that this one needs to use, because all these students that live, well, finish these studies will be to the, you know, to the employment, to find a job. So, I mean, and they need to understand, and things that, for example, my colleagues were talking about that, for example, arriving to a hotel and, for example, asking, oh, you are sisters? Are you sisters? So, I mean, no, I mean, we need to transform that. We need to really, you know, and for this one, we need help. And the help is to understand what's up. Okay, I mean, and even, for example, to understand that even inside of the community, we have different realities. I mean, my life like a gay is not different like the life of a transsexual, you know? So we have different concepts. So, and this one is to understand. So I think that this one, will help just in order for a restaurant. We'll order just to find that, for example, when you enter in a plane, I mean, the service will be like you expected, you know? So only just, as I told you before, really feel comfortable, you know? I don't want that, for example, I mean, they put me as in a part of the city, or they put me in a special area of the city. I don't want to live like that. I don't expect that from a city. You know what I mean? Even that, for example, there is an area with a lot of history and legacy, and where the LGBT community is more than ever reflected. But I could like to go for any part of the cities, because I cannot accept things that happens, for example, this week in Spain. I cannot accept that. I cannot accept that someone get out by night just in order to, well, in a restaurant with friends and things like that, and finish his life in one day. No, this is not possible. And I think that this one needs to, it seems that, for example, it's not easy. You know, it seems that, no, I mean, it's quite difficult, because it seems that, okay, it could be easy. Okay, we put some studies and that's it, that will be fine. No, 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 no. I mean, I think that we need to work every day, and we need to not more explain to the community, because me, like, I'm gay, I know what I am, you know what I mean? I need to make the other ones understand to me, which is different. So I think that this type of things will help that the cities gave a better service at the end, you know?
Yeah, I would like to add to that, because I think if people think about gay marketing, sometimes it's like, you see like the marketing of like gay men in Speedos on the beach, for example, or there's a cruise, or there are like specific activities, there's like LGBT bars and that kind of thing. If we look to go to a destination, it's not the specific things and the activities that we're looking for to be super inclusive. It's like the everyday things. It's like Oriol said, it's, you know, on the transportation, like we were in Italy and we booked, we were in Venice and we wanted to go with a gondola. You know, it's knowing that if you're in the gondola, you can take a kissing photo because it's a super romantic experience, and knowing that the gondolier will not be like super weird about it. It's those small things that, you know, people have an understanding, and the respect, like it's also a lot about respect. And so it's not about all the specific things and like, oh, we have to do things for queer people, but it's like the bigger understanding, like what do these people need, like having like explain the explanation of like how many things we have to think about before traveling, that bigger understanding. And like even a little rainbow flag at a reception somewhere or something like that can make us feel really happy and seen, because, you know, like it's the small things again. It doesn't have to be the big things, but the understanding and the inclusivity also in language. For example, sometimes hotels have things in the bathroom or like bathrobes, different size. I think it's very small, but like those things are like, to me, like, oh, this is for a straight couple, for a straight cisgender couple. So, or if it's, yeah, for him or for her, those kind of things that can really make us feel like, oh, it's not for us.
Yeah, less welcome.
Yeah, less welcome. So it's and then of course for education, it's very important to have that broad understanding of the needs of the community and not just one letter of the community.
I agree 100% with everything that Mateo and you guys said, because it's about, to us, the luxury is in the small details, and it's a lot easier than welcome Chinese tourism, than getting a certification for halal or for kosher. It's a matter of sensitivity. It's a matter of adapting to what we need. And I think data and surveys and research has given us the tools to make sure they're giving us the right resources to do that. We're now in Los Cabos. It's one of the most luxurious destinations in the world, and definitely in Mexico, and they have never worked on this segment. But on the research we are performing on the airport, we learned that 16% of travelers are LGBTQ+. They have no product, they have no sensitivity or any kind of training, and they had zero marketing dollars invested or no strategy or promotion. So imagine the potential that this destination has, and this happens everywhere. So to us, that is important because, one, it allows us to make sure that we're giving the right resources to adapt everything experience-wise. And then when we're talking about these small details, transportation is the first step and the first interaction you have with a destination. You only have one opportunity to create the first impression. And when I land in any place in the world, it happens always the same. I say that I'm from Barcelona, and I find myself trapped in a conversation between Barca or Madrid, or how handsome are Spanish women. And this creates a situation throughout the whole process until I get to the hotel where I'm with my boyfriend. The person driving has a cross on the mirror, and I don't know anymore if it's safe for me to take my boyfriend's hand, what kind of conversations I can have with my boyfriend. And this process is repeated when I do the check-in, when I go to the restaurant, when I book a tour. So to us, our strategy in any destination is to make sure that we're not gonna work only with hotels that are 100% for LGBT. We're training on intersectionality, and we work with Marriott Group from Ritz-Carlton to W. We work with Hyatt, we work with Melia, we work with the big players because we want to be able to be included in anything that is for everyone. And that is our ultimate goal. And in terms of research, what we're trying to do, I want to show you one of the items. When a company is queer destination certified, we're providing them this sticker. Obviously, the logo depends on the destination. That QR code is a QR code that is being scanned by LGBT travelers and is allowing us to collect data on how was their experience. It allows us to know what areas of opportunity and improvement we can implement to make sure that the next LGBT traveler will have an even better experience. This is not in a sense of like TripAdvisor that I can make a complaint and everyone will see. It's a private feedback that the only thing that wants is that we create a community where by us traveling to a place, we will make sure that our feedback is heard and we will improve the experience like for the next person that is coming. I think that then to answer your question, surveys and all studies are helping us make sure that our value is heard, that we are giving the process and the intention that is needed to make sure that we're creating products and promotions that are talking to us. And then at the end, it's a continuous work to make sure that we are improving all the time on LGBTQ+ to make sure they welcome us in the best possible way.
Mateo, if you want to go ahead.
Yes, I would like to add that, for example, in my case, when I entered in the Tourism Board of Barcelona, so I mean, well, okay, I had any troubles here in my company, so I'm lucky. Otherwise, when I entered, and I was responsible for the LGBTI community, to be honest, even that I'm gay, I was discover all the reality of the part of the community. So I mean, I discovered what about the history of the people who, well, are trans? What about the reactions of the lesbian world? Because when I enter, you know, I mean, I was only just know one part of the community. So I think that this is important. Why? Because, for example, I remember that even in my life, I was, for example, thinking about the pride, because I said, well, okay, it's only just like a carnival. Even, for example, imagine that. So me with this opinion, no? So I mean, only just, oh, it's a carnival with some carriages and things like that. But when I enter in the history, when I make, and I was educated about the studies, and I was thinking about what's hard behind the pride, what's happening in the Stonewall, what's happening in New York, what's happening in the, so my mind was open, you know, to be honest. I mean, and it was an exercise about the years. So I think that is really important, this type of studies. But it seems that, for example, I told you before, it's not only just a thing, okay, just put these studies for the gays and that's it. No, 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 no. It's a thing that makes a legacy for the community. I think that this is an improvement for the whole community, because my colleagues were talking about respect. So I think that the education makes a respect, make to understand the other one that you have in front of you, which is really important. And I think that these ones are facts, you know, because in my opinion, talk about the LGBTI and how well we are with the community and everything like that, everyone can do it, you know what I mean? But these at the end are words. But the other thing is like you present today. Today you present facts, things that, for example, became a better community. And I think that this is at the end is, well, you know, it's quite tough every day working. And when you open the newspaper, it appears the news, you say, oh my God, we are just on the way to the positive way, or we are in the way to the negative way. So, but you know, I think that it's really, to be honest, important. But on a positive way, we are living in Barcelona, my God, which is the best place just in order to come to study this, you know, because it's the capital of diversity. So I think that is really a great place. I was talking you with example with before we were talking, and I was talking about a journalist in London that say, Mateo, I'm prominent in Barcelona, and imagine you thinking that, for example, London maybe is you know, very open in some places, but don't thinking about that. And for me, it was shocked because I said, oh, listen, I mean, they coming to Barcelona, but Barcelona has a long tradition, more than since we were founded by the Romans. You remember how were the Romans as well acceptable the LGBTI community. So the thing is that, for example, I mean, Barcelona also as well with huge reference about CETT-UB, a lot of tradition about artists, you know, all the artists that, well, Santiago Rossinyol, Ramon Casas, pass through here, makes it great atmosphere. I mean, the strange people, like the bizarre people, like where a genius became a genius. Remember Gaudi? Gaudi was really like a, okay, and strange people, okay, my God, what is doing this type of monuments? And right now everyone is, wow, fascinating about how the diversity makes a better world and leaves a legacy in each capital. So I think that this is very important. So again, sorry for my passion, but I'm extremely happy today.
I think we can all agree that that passion is a, oh, sorry, real.
No,
go ahead. Thank you. That passion is a good thing, and that we're all here together today only makes it even better. I was just gonna ask one more question before we introduce Yaya, and then open questions to the public in case there are. I hope there are, because I think that we could do so many more roundtables, and just an hour today feels really short. But I would like to ask you, once upon a journey, when we talk about this feeling of safety and especially relating it to communication, which is a word that has been appearing over and over again, what do you think the role is when we think about tourism studies and communication to the LGBTIQ travelers?
So I think in terms of communication, it's also important to realize that LGBT language changes over time. There are words that are now outdated that were used before. And I think that's also important. It's never a finished product. It's not like, oh, we're here, we're great, we're inclusive, now the work is done.
I think that happens a little bit in the Netherlands. So we are from the Netherlands, and many of us probably know that we were the first in the world that legalized same-sex marriage, but we think,
or like marriage for same-sex couples, it's not like it's a different kind of marriage. So yeah, and I think that's the point where people were like, oh, we're there, we can stop exploring this whole thing. So I think then sometimes it goes a bit backwards, but it's always an ongoing process. Like we're also a younger generation, like there's an older generation who accepts things because they have already seen change and they accept that we're here now and they have to learn with this whole heteronormative society. And then there's a new generation who's like, no, we're not gonna take this for, like for granted, we need to do better. And then there will be a new generation who's like, well, we're all queer and like, it has to be even better because we're still not normal. So I think, yeah, that's something that is very important. It's not something like, oh, we're inclusive, we're done. Like it's an ongoing process, like with anything, it's a development. And because the whole community changes and like society changes, like being inclusive and what it means to be inclusive also changes.
Nuria, I wanted to add one more thing, and that's to complement what Mateo was saying about the legacy, and that this caters to all the community, not only LGBTQ plus people, and about the learnings. When I wrote the book, I realized that even that I'm 10 years into this sector and that I'm attending and speaking in most conferences, I realized when I was writing one chapter that else to do with gender identities, that I didn't know a lot of things. And if me, a gay man that is professionally working on this segment, had a lot of things that still had to learn, and I still have, how could we expect that straight people from other generations before us are knowing this and adapting this product-wise to welcome us in the best possible way? That's why we started with the trainings. And the Queer Destinations training is a 4-hour training that is making everyone sit down and learn and understand who we are, what we need, and how to welcome us in the best possible way. And I think that this is the beautiful part of our work that, as I said before, it looks for the intersectionality between business and activism. We're training 100% of the staff of all the hotels, of all the companies in the tourism industry in the destination. These people are fathers, cousins, friends of LGBT plus people. And therefore, what we are doing is not only helping LGBT travelers have a better experience, we're helping have this legacy that Mateo is talking about. And this is educating the community as a whole, as a society. And I believe that our strategy and the work together combined, Mateo from a destination, Once Upon a Journey, from the perspective of a traveler that is showing other travelers how to travel and what is safe and what not. And in our perspective, helping governments, destinations, and companies learn better and do better. I think that all together we're pushing society forward. And this is really, really important. And I believe that now having more professionals trained and educated with this master that you guys are pushing, it's gonna be an awesome opportunity to keep pushing this work forward.
Well, thank you for these words. I mean, they do sound amazing. I think that the concept of learning and also unlearning that maybe we haven't said it, but it was kind of in the air is really important. We have many assumptions, even though the ones that we are part of the community, we still have many stereotypes that we need to unlearn. And as you were saying before, it's just there are these words that we cannot use anymore, and there are these experiences that we now have to take into account. So I think that we're going to see our faces in another roundtable. But meanwhile, maybe Yaya Pedemonte, who is working in the gender equality group at ISTO. Thank you for being here, and if you would like to share your experience, that we would be grateful.
Yeah, I will explain you very fast. I have been invited here because I am the organizer of the group of the Association International ISTO Sustainable Tourism Organization. It's a large group of associations, and we founded a group called Gender Equality, Diversity and Inclusion, and we are trying to organize several things. But basically what I want to say is that our mission as a gender equality and diversity and inclusion is to highlight women's place in the tourism industry, creating new opportunities through gender empowerment that will consequently be a benefit for communities and companies for global development. We will fight against diversity, discrimination, and for inclusion, of course, and we will disseminate awareness of diversity. And we think that it is unavoidable that in each Eastern members, each association, they must embed gender equality, diversity, inclusion in anybody's sustainable and responsible development plans, and to ask the same to their stakeholders. And I wanted to tell you something that I've been thinking while you were talking. Since I am a journalist and I am working on this field of responsible tourism since years, and I am making a website about women working in tourism. So basically, I am considering from the point of view of workers and not travelers. And it is quite interesting because and I also wrote a couple of guidebooks where I, of course, included every kind of experience and every kind of community. I mean, it is a guide called Libere Viaggiatrici, Free Women Travelers. But of course, it is to any kind of woman traveler. But then lately, I have been participating to several Zoom calls and meetings and roundtables from the Berlin Tourism Fair, for example, and several others. And very often we were discussing about communities and diversity and inclusions, and these are very much trendy definitions. What was interesting was that, for example, we were discussing with the LGBT travel agent and the Black one and the Spanish one, and then I was representing women as workers, and the point was always we were talking about a matter of culture. So it is a matter of human rights that must be respected. And so, for example, women are involved in human rights as usually labor rights, protection from discrimination, health, safety, and so on. Then there were a few practical things coming out from these meetings or conventions. For example, a few weeks ago, there was a large convention about women working in tourism in London, and about tens of experts were discussing and about tourism in a whole. And then, for example, it was very interesting because it came very clearly for people who work that if you include in your discussions, if you make a meeting, if you want to have ideas or if you want to organize something, the highest number of diverse people you include, whatever is the community they belong to, women or blacks or gays or whatever, the largest is the group that you that you put together, the better will be the ideas that will come out. And it is actually proved that also the companies who have more women or more diverse, any kind of people in managerial positions, they are much better also as you know, they get on from the business point of view much better. And that was nice because it was something that we can say just now. I'm telling you like something I'm telling you, I mean, like a news without not so much based on data, but in this case they were really telling about studies that they made about it. So it is not something that it looks obvious to us, but it's something that has been demonstrated. And then there were a lot of talking about solo travelers. And for example, women solo travelers are very much afraid sometimes, but sometimes it's really just a legend, and then it's just psychological idea. But they were always complaining about getting into a hotel and having some receptionist saying, "Oh, why are you alone?" or these kind of things. And so it was interesting that, for example, there is a group called La Voyageuse in France who organized that women are traveling and going to visit other women or going to hotels if they want. It's like a large platform that they have been created. And it was, I thought it was interesting that, for example, they are suggesting to the people who are receiving solo women travelers to establish some kind of codes, so that if suppose they come in a rush, running and ring the bell and they make a special signal, a sign, that means that they have been followed, for example, or that something happened to them. And so it is like a secret code that they established. And this is something that made these travelers much more secure. And the similar thing, it was suggested by a feminist organization about women working in tourism, because there are so many afraid of violence. These are just examples that I'm giving to you because they just came in my mind when you were talking. Then of course there are also different situations. But then talking about violence and harassment, they established with a group of hotels, I think in Southeast Asia, that there are like offices, like boxes where women workers of the hotel, so suppose cleaners or cooks or whoever, guides, they can put some kind of you know, claim about someone harassing them without being sure that they are safe, they will be safe, and it will be like a private disclaim. And this worked very well, because in places like India or other places, but also in Chicago, it seems like 80% of women working in hotels have been harassed by some men. Anyway, it works very well because they feel safe, and it is also a way to discuss, to arise the subject of diversities, of you have not the right to be violent against someone you think it's not as strong as you, or because it is different from you. So it is very much a cultural way of putting the thing, you know, turning the subject around. If you are, well, I don't have to explain you, but you understood what I mean.
Yeah, I think that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Yaya, because we're really running out of time.
Cultural matter, yeah.
Yeah, I think that there are so many conversations that we should have, so many key points that just appeared in this roundtable. Thank you all so much for participating. You do have the contacts of all our guest speakers today, all of our stars, that we really hope to see you again, and to just start building this training process hand in hand to understand what the community needs and what the tourism sector needs too. Thank you really, all of you, for being here today to listen to this. We hope that this is the first step towards a really diverse and enriching conversation. I'm afraid we don't have any more time, so thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Thank you.